Welcome back, travelers, to your referral roadmap. This podcast is dedicated to helping you unleash your personal and business revenue potential by cultivating referral relationships. In this 10-part series, we are giving you the tools to break free from the productivity traps that keep you overwhelmed, overworked, and underfulfilled. If you've ever felt like no matter how hard you work, you're just spinning your wheels, stuck in that cycle of busyness instead of real progress, this series is for you. This isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. So, if you are ready to trade burnout for real momentum, let's dive in. Today, we're talking about prioritization power and how to really identify what moves the needle. And I know that may seem pretty straightforward, but just for definition purposes, I do want to dive a little deeper into what that means. So prioritization power really is the ability to focus on what truly matters by identifying and acting on high impact tasks instead of getting lost in those low value work. It's not about doing more. It's about doing the right things that drive results. So Athena, do you have a story maybe you want to share with us today?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've actually got a couple of historical stories, but I want to kind of start with talking, Jada, about this subject when I'm consulting. What you just said about how simple it sounds. Simple sometimes is not easy.
Exactly.
So I have found, not only as I have been a boss, a leader, a CEO in my own businesses, but especially coaching. When I sit down with people and ask them, hey, tell me what your priorities are and tell me why. That sounds so simple, but I get glazed over most of the time. I don't know where in society that we have lost perspective of prioritization, where everything has become urgent, everything is important, everything matters. And that really isn't the case. I don't have any data or science behind this, so this is Athena science, so bear with that, listeners. But I swear, I think, Jada, it's because we're inundated with so much information. We're constantly getting information that our brains have lost an innate ability to prioritize. And again, that's Athena science, so just understand that. But listeners, go ahead.
I was going to say, I would agree with that. And also, I think because we live in such a digital age, people are so used to getting that like immediate, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Endorphins.
Endorphins, that immediate response. I mean, if you think about it as far as like even texting, like usually, I mean, if you have your phone in your hand, you text back immediately. You're not waiting to text back for days or anything like that. And so I think it makes it harder to prioritize if I have this digital device in my hand that's constantly going off, whether that be email, Slack, text message, phone calls, it's just everyone's in this response rhythm instead of this is a reactive rhythm rather than a proactive rhythm.
I love that. That's a mic drop moment right there.
There you go.
That's a mic drop moment. Being reactive and not being responsive. And reactive instead of being intentional. Wow. Okay. You are 100% right. And listeners, as always, today we're going to unpack some science. We're going to give you some rubber meets the road. So you'll want to save this because I promise you, if you're in your car or on your treadmill, there's going to be things you'll want to write down that you just may not be able to remember off the top of your head. So just FYI there, this is about how do we actually apply this. So I want to talk a little bit more through, Jada, what I'm seeing in my consulting clients.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's a reflection. I'm not trying to diss them.
Totally.
I was them.
I'm sure I've been them at some point too.
Right. And so here is, when we're looking at our entire life, I do a goal setting boot camp Jada's aware of, and it has the wheel of life. And I didn't invent that, a society of success. I think I'll have to, maybe Jada can link for us who the developer of it is, but
Yeah,
it's the wheel of life, and you can Google this. And what it does, and I think I love it for this reason, it shows you all the different avenues in your life. So relationships, spiritual, physical, business. It shows all the different areas because you are not like one entity in the sense that you can only focus on work, right? You have other things going on in your life. And Jada and I like to say this is not your practice life, and we want you to have an impactful life. So when you look at this wheel, you start to see all the different areas of your life. And when you do the assessment, you see the wheel has some flats. Everybody's wheel has some flats. Now, the more you do the wheel and the more you understand where you need to prioritize your energy, then the flat isn't so dramatic. But we all have it. And the reason why is because we are allowing life to determine how we live life instead of prioritizing, identifying, and being intentional with our minutes and time. And I understand that that is a little bit complicated. I will say, I remember in one of my goal setting classes, a lady, Jada, had to get up out of the room because she was so emotionally upset. And so I went and I consoled her on a break. And I said, was it something I said? I'm so sorry. And she said, she was in her 40s. She said, no one has made me look at my life like this.
Mm.
And looking at my life, I realize there's so much I'm missing. Right. And I don't want you to be in your mid 40s and your career have these flats or your life have these flats because you haven't prioritized. And so you're I've also had a lady be in that same class, 65 years old. And she told me, Athena, I'm 65 and no one's asked me these questions. I've never looked at my life like this. It's never too late, right? It's never too late, ever. So how do we do it though? How do we, first of all, how do we prioritize? But first of all, let's just acknowledge that maybe you're living your life with your priorities not 100% aligned. And I want you to give yourself some grace if you find yourself in that position because you are not alone. This is actually complicated, even though it's simple. Okay. So I want to first tell you a couple of historical stories, and then I'll wrap it back up with real, personal stories. But one of them, and I think on one of our other episodes, Jada, we brought up this same theory, but it was good enough. I wanted to go a little bit deeper in it. And so Dwight D. Eisenhower actually implemented the prioritization power. So let me just say, one of the greatest demonstrations of prioritization power comes from Dwight Eisenhower. If you don't know, he's the 34th president of the United States and the supreme commander of the Allied forces in World War II. I mean, hello, that's a lot of responsibility.
You think?
Hats off to him, right? A lot of responsibility, a lot of people's lives at hand. So Eisenhower was responsible for planning and executing D-Day. Again, one of the most complex military operations in history with thousands of decisions to make daily, and he couldn't afford to waste any time or make less of an impact. And I know, hey, Jada, haven't you been there?
I have. I went, I guess that was not this past December, but the December before. So at this point, oh my gosh, like a year and a half ago. That's crazy. But yeah, I've been there and man, it is humbling. It's a great experience though. Honestly, I would recommend anyone go if you can just to experience everything there. Yeah.
So you understand, I mean, you've been there, you've seen the impact, you've seen and heard the history, but how did he do it? Okay. So I don't know if anybody listening, I know myself included, I don't have that level of responsibility. Right. So how did he do it? And they call this the Eisenhower metrics. We've talked about this already, but it's the difference between urgent and important. So I'm going to say this again. It's urgent and important equals do it right now, right? Important, not urgent, means plan for it. Urgent, not important, means to delegate it. And if it's not urgent nor important, eliminate it, right? Now that sounds really simple, but one of the things you have to do there is you've got to even figure out what are you assessing, right? So all the things you have to assess, and then you use this theory. So he did this, and this allowed him to focus on the war's critical decisions rather than getting bogged down in the trivial. Can you imagine all the people coming at him, world leaders even coming at him?
Mhm.
And this was his, how do I stay focused and know the priority of the day? So, really, most people waste our time on urgent but unimportant things, like answering emails, sitting in unnecessary meetings, handling minor problems. But true prioritization means focusing on the activities that have the greatest impact. Okay? That's what he did. Um, and we'll unpack like how to do that. And we'll give some science behind it too today. But I just really want you guys to digest and be thinking about your own life. Um, are you applying the Eisenhower metrics? The other one, I love this one, is the story of Steve Jobs. So I think most people know who he is, but when Steve Jobs returned to Apple in 1997, now remember, they fired him. They weren't doing well. They brought him back on. And the company was in serious trouble. It had over 300 products and
Wow.
was hemorrhaging money, lack of direction. Nobody knew, no, what are we doing? Who's doing what, right? This is the prime example is more is not better,
Yeah.
right?
No
More is
kidding.
not better. So Jobs immediately focused on money-making activities. And if you listen to me, follow me, I say this all the time. If you coach with me, I say this all the time. What are the money-making activities? And so he said, which of these products actually drive revenue and move the company forward? So what he did after he asked himself that question, he slashed 70% of Apple products. Just said done, eliminating the distractions. Now, most people would be like, that's crazy. No, focus helps you actually achieve. Focus, he focused on the big win. What he did is he narrowed everybody, and he, um, do you guys know what he created during that time?
What was it?
He created I want to call it, it's not the thing that had music on it.
The iPod?
Yes.
The iPod Nano? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
That like,
that's what he created that, and he
mm,
said, "This is going to change the world." And he also, as we all know, too, created the Apple phone, which has changed the world. So he narrowed the focus, and he changed society. And he also got Apple to be back again on track. So I want to ask you, what are you doing in your life right now? Think about it. That's not money making, dream making, or making you a better person that you're doing a lot of, right? So, I those are some of the stories. I do want to say, as I wrap this story up, personally, when I'm coaching people, when we sit down and we do the exercises, the rubber meets the road that I'm going to teach you today, light bulbs go off, freedom comes in, bondage is broken. And I know those are big words, but prioritization helps you really identify what must get done and what can I let go so I'm not overwhelmed, shamed, depressed, right? Being overwhelmed and not knowing really what you're supposed to do is really harsh on your emotional stability, which degrades your creativity, degrades your ability to actually reach your potential. So prioritization has this, what I would call, compound effect in your entire life. So
and
um,
that just actually that reminds me of one of your clients, because I know he's given you a testimonial, and this is just something that's so powerful. Just to the idea of product or prioritization is, he came in and he's like, I'm really good at this business thing. I can sell business day in and day out. I can do that. What I can't do and I can't figure out how to do is how to have a life.
mm.
And I think that that is something that we're going to, be processing through today together. But that is just such a impact. You can be so good at your job, but if you can't prioritize, you can't have that balance. And so
And
just,
yeah,
yeah.
and your career doesn't snuggle you at the end of life,
It sure does not. And you can't
right?
bring
It
it to the
just
grave with
doesn't. But
yes.
hey, I know there's some facts and stuff, other than Athena's little science there. I know we've got some real science. What is it?
Hey, I like Athena science too, but I'll give you the real science. So there's two methods or concepts rather that I wanted to talk through today. One is the Ivy Lee method. It's 100-year-old productivity hack, and research here is by Charles Schwab, the CEO of Bethlehem Steel, the one of the largest companies in the world, and he wanted to improve his company's efficiency, so he hired Ivy Lee, a productivity consultant, who gave him the simple method. And what it said was that 3 months after Schwab hired him, he was so impressed with the transformation and productivity that he sent Ivy Lee a $25,000 check, which in today's dollars is worth over $400,000. So that is wild, without Ivy ever asking for payment. So I will link link in the show notes what that Ivy Lee method is a little bit more in detail, but just that's impactful. And then the next one was a $10,000 per hour work concept as the ROI of high value tasks. So researcher Dan Sullivan, he's a top business coach, and he teaches the $10, $100, $1,000, and $10,000 per hour work framework. And the idea right there is that not all tasks are equal. So a $10 an hour work may be, administrative tasks, emails, scheduling. They're low value, but they are time consuming. And then $100 hour or per hour work is, those process improvements, content creation. They're useful, but not game changing. The $1,000 per hour work is those sales conversations, strategic planning, those things that directly impact your revenue. And then the $10,000 per hour work is visions, big deals, and high level partnerships. So those are the long-term business changing impact. So I will link some more information about both of those in the show notes. But that is really all I had on the statistics today. So I wanted to kick it back over to you, Athena, for Rubber Meets the Road.
Yes. Hey, the that last piece of science you gave us made me think about something. One of my employees once was really struggling with prioritization and really knowing what am I supposed to be doing. It was a little bit of a people pleaser, right? People pleasing really is kryptonite to prioritization, FYI. So I sat down with this employee and I said, look, let's assume you work 40 hours a week. He didn't, but I said, let's assume you work 40 hours a week. And if you work 40 hours a week, if you are doing what the highest impact thing that you do, let's figure out how much money you make the company per hour. And when we did that exercise, it was like over $1,000 an hour. Right? And so when we looked at that, I said, so we applied this. Now I will tell you this, Jada, I didn't know about this. But now I'm like, hello, right? This theory. What I did is I said, so every time you give an hour away to something else, that is $100 an hour task. You just cost the company $900.
Yeah.
And when he started to see that, he was like, oh. So, that is something that I think is important for you guys to really understand in your businesses. When I do my high functioning money-making activities, how much revenue does that bring into my, my commission check or my paycheck or my revenue for my business? And how many of those hours am I plugging in versus how many I'm plugging in the $10 an hour or $100 an hour?
Yeah.
Just, think through that. I think that is eye-opening.
Well, I think it's easier too, especially Athena, I know for people like you and I that really enjoy, getting things checked off a list. It's really easy and to do those $10 an hour tasks because you feel fulfilled more immediately. You get that instant gratification of, I responded to that email, it's out of my mind. I did this, it's out of my mind. Whereas those $10,000 per hour things, you may not see the fruit of that for a month or two because it's a long-term, maybe even longer than that, but it's a long-term task that you don't get that instant gratification. So I think for people like you and I, sometimes that can be a struggle of feeling less productive, even though it really was more productive.
Amen. Yes. And you know what you have to do? You have to live vicariously through other people that do your priority, that do your and say, "Good job, you got it done," and then, live through that. But
Yes.
but that's a great I mean, that is a great point because again, people pleasing is kryptonite to prioritization, and really that need to feel accomplished
Yeah,
can also be.
totally.
Right. So again, prioritization sounds really simple. It's a little bit more complicated. So I want to give you guys some rubber meets the road. Like let's figure out. I keep talking about how it's, easy or simple, but not easy. So let's just talk about what we really do. First of all, you have to start by identifying your high impact revenue, if I can say that, generating activities. And I need you to be really honest with yourself. What are the things that make you money? If you own a business, if you're a CEO, or if you're 100% commission, you need to know what things are going to bring you revenue. So here's what I tell people: make a list of your tasks, write them all out. Every coaching client I have consulting, they hate this exercise. They hate it. Just FYI. But it's important. You have to write it out so that we can then look at it and evaluate for every task. You ask yourself, does this directly contribute to generating revenue and achieving my goal? Or will completing this task significantly move my business or my project forward? If the task doesn't say yes to that, it doesn't qualify for a revenue generating activity. Okay? Extremely, you have to decide, okay? And then after you have your list of tasks, what I have everybody do is identify the revenue making ones. Then identify the ones that, you know what, I'm really good at this. I can make a big impact if I do those. Then I put it into 4 different buckets. Money making, this is my super strength. Next, maybe I still have to do these things. These are key, they're important. And they help feed the money making activities. In box 3 are the things that maybe need to get done, but you don't have to do them. And 4 are things that are on there that you're like, that, you know what? If the business was really struggling, if I didn't do those things, it's okay. Then what I tell people is then we'll prioritize the top 2 boxes, and 3 we need to automate or delegate. And 4 we either delegate or delete. Okay? That way you really get an idea of what really are your priorities. Okay? And they're not based on your emotional things. Like, but I like doing that. Okay, we can talk about that. But it's the money making generating things. So for I know I talk a lot about sales in here. If you're a professional sales person, your prospecting had better be part of a high priority item. Okay. Just, I had to put it in there, Jada. You know how I am about it. People don't do enough of this. Anyway, but if you're a CEO, a money making activity, honestly, is hiring the right people, keeping the people engaged. That's a money making activity. Okay. So money making activities differ how far you go up the ladder, right? One of my favorite CEOs I work with, Zach, his money making activities right now is us analyzing his entire sales process flow, the customer journey, and his entire marketing flow for the customer journey. And we're looking for opportunities already within their database that will help them identify conversion rate where conversion could be happening that is not. And so by analyzing all that, we're finding all of this new opportunity with leads they already have to generate more revenue. Now, that is a money making activity for a CEO, right? And that's why he's working with me, because we have fun doing that. I know that's nerdy, most people, but I get all excited about it. You should have seen my last call with him. He had this flow chart, and everything that was white on it was new opportunity, and everything yellow was what they were already doing, and the white was double the size. And I was like, I got all excited.
Athena's brain's like, whoa.
Because we had so much possibility for growth, right? And that's the thing I want you guys to realize. When you focus on these things, you'll find there's so much potential that you are missing because you're too busy. All right, so distinguishing between the urgent and important. And that goes really back to what I want to, we were talking about. So categorizing, and we already did this, right? What's important, what's urgent, and prioritizing those. You really want to think about what is going to make the biggest impact the fastest, right? It's, Jada, sometimes we have something that's a big impact, but it's going to take us longer. So you and I often say, okay, let's do this big impact thing that we can get done faster, while we're working on the big impact thing that will take longer. Mm-hmm. So we're impacting our business today and in the future. And that helps you and I come up with strategies. And so I want you guys to think through that. There are money-making activities that are like, okay, this has to happen in the next 60 days. This is a money-making activity that we can work on in the next 90 to 120. You guys get the idea. Again, that's prioritizing it down even deeper. The other thing I want to talk about, and I know this is about referrals, and I know this is about business growth. Prioritizing is also about relationship building. Your clients, past clients, referral partners need to be part of your priority in your business. So think about that. Jada and I just had that conversation about my consulting business, and they need to be a priority. The other thing, and this is a little bit more personal, but you have to be a priority.
Yeah.
You have to be a priority. You can only give your business and your clients so much if you don't have anything to give. Mm-hmm. So you have to be a priority. Your family life has to be a priority. And then those money-making activities have to be a priority. And this goes back to that wheel of life. So I'm going to come back to that. When you're using these techniques to prioritize your life, it is critical that you think about your totality of your entire life. I want you to be radically successful in business, but I don't want to cost it enjoying and having a great life, right? And you guys, most of you have followed me enough. You've heard the story about when I had pulmonary emboli in the hospital, and I really wasn't given a large, let's just say the percentage I wouldn't make it was higher than the percentage I would. I didn't, Jada and I've talked about, I didn't look at my portfolio. I didn't look at my bank account. I was not looking at my resume. I only was thinking about the relationships I've had in my life, the impact I've had. So I'm thankful for all the success, financial success, business success. But when life really got serious, that's not what I was thinking about. So I want you to prioritize in business to have radical growth and success. But I also want you to realize, don't trade your life for it. Find out what that balance looks like.
Yep.
So final takeaway, really, I want you to, by understanding that if you prioritize and you focus on the tasks that truly matter, you will drive success. Being busy does not drive results and success. Being busy is an addiction, and it's a lie. Okay? So regularly assess your activities to ensure alignment with your key objectives for your life and business and long-term goals. Please. It's easy to be focused and then get off track. So coming back and refocusing often. Remember, effective prioritization is about making conscious choices to focus on what is the most significant to impact. You guys, this is about living intentionally. This is about living your life the way you need to live it. Jada and I always say this is not your practice life, right? So that's why prioritization is really critical. And I know if I'm on a soapbox and you guys, man, I feel her energy here. It is because this has changed my life. I'm seeing it change my clients' lives for personal and professionally. It is one of those things, if we take control, is life changing. And so I really want that for you guys. And that matters. But I'll be quiet, Jada. What's next?
Well, I actually have a couple things. One, I want to make sure that all of our listeners know we do have a resource guide for season 5. And so I'll make sure that that is linked below. There will be one link. It'll take you to all the things I'm going to talk about, but that is one of them that we want to make sure that you guys get, because like Athena said, you may be driving in your car on the treadmill, walking, hopefully outside in the sunshine. But we just want to make sure that there is a way that you can have these takeaways and really implement them into your life, because they are powerful. So we will have that resource guide linked. Another thing that Athena mentioned earlier, in 2 of her stories, she had great success and impact on people that attended her goal setting boot camp. So I'm going to put a link to, if you're interested in having Athena come for your organization or your business, if you're a leader, that makes such an impact, and we've seen that time and time again. So I'll put that there. And then also wanted to invite you guys to join us on our Success Revolution. It is our weekly blog where you get weekly growth strategies straight to your inbox. It's fueled by relationships, referral, and revenue. So again, we'll make sure all these links are in there below, but do not forget to like and subscribe to our podcast on wherever you're listening. That way you can join us next week as Athena brings real talk and real strategies on the art of saying no, reclaiming your time without guilt. Can't wait to see you next week. Bye, y'all.
Awesome, guys.